Established by FIFA in October 2009, the FIFA Puskás Award is meant to be awarded to the male or female player who has scored the most aesthetically significant, or the most beautiful goal of that calendar year, though no female player has yet won it. Scotland and Real Madrid's Caroline Weir was nominated in both 2020 and in 2021, which is pretty impressive. Meanwhile, Alessia Russo's sensational backheel for England at the Women's Euros last summer against Sweden, which I was lucky enough to witness in the flesh, earned a nomination in 2022, but it didn't quite take the crown. Named in honour of Hungarian legend Ferenc Puskás, it is only right that the great man's legacy is kept alive. This isn't, relevant to the video itself, but it is always worth reiterating just how special Ferenc Puskás was. Not only was he the star and the most gifted player, in arguably the greatest national football team of all time, after his Hungary career ended and Puskás was banned for 2 years by UEFA for refusing to return to Budapest following the Hungarian Revolution, he returned to football, aged 31 and having been out of action for 2 whole years, with Real Madrid, where he proceeded to score 242 goals in only 262 games, retiring on a high immediately after winning his 3rd European Cup at the grand old age of 39. Again, not strictly relevant, but no less remarkable. You don't have to be as talented as Puskás to win the Puskás Award, which is partly why this video is quite interesting, given the broad range of talents of former winners, or I thought so at least. You just have to have scored one exceptional goal, which was voted as the best in that calendar year. Without further ado then, who, I am sorry to say, was never even nominated, here is how I would rank every Puskás Award winner from worst to best, or, as I prefer to see it, from least to most brilliant. 14th, Mohd Faiz Subri. Winner of the 2016 FIFA Puskás Award, no one outside of Malaysia had heard of Mohd Faiz Subri before he won the Puskás Award, and nor has anyone outside of Malaysia heard anything about him since. And anyone who tells you otherwise is quite frankly lying. Uncapped by Malaysia at any level, Subri has spent the majority of his career playing in the top flight of Malaysian football, most notably for his current club Penang, which was also the club that he scored his stunning Puskás Award-winning free kick for in 2016. Subri's strike for Penang against Pahang came from miles out, a distance in which he had no right to be shooting from, let alone beating the goalkeeper, who was left totally perplexed by the wild swerve that the ball took from left to right, ultimately flying into the top left-hand corner of the goalkeeper's goal. I'd love to show you it, but that would land me a copyright strike, demonetization, and eventually this channel would be deleted. And FIFA are pretty hot on that kind of thing, so I'm afraid that isn't possible. You can obviously go and watch any of them on the FIFA YouTube channel if you've never seen them before though. Subri saw off competition from the likes of Lionel Messi, Neymar, and Hal Robson-Kanu, 3 of the greatest players of his generation, to win the award in 2016. But that doesn't spare him from finishing dead last in my list, on account of him being a fairly mediocre player in a not particularly prestigious league. 13th, Wendell Lira. You might be familiar with the fact that 2015 FIFA Puskás Award winner Wendell Lira retired from football just 4 months after winning the award, still aged only 27, and became a FIFA esports player instead. On that basis, you could be forgiven for wondering why he didn't finish last instead of Subri, but during his early years, Lira was a serious prospect. A graduate of the youth ranks at Goiás, Lira represented Brazil's incredibly competitive under-20 team and even received an offer from AC Milan that was batted away by his club. Unfortunately plagued by injuries, which ultimately led to his premature retirement and full-time move into gaming, Lira still spent 2 seasons playing in the top flight of Brazilian football, which is certainly not to be sniffed at. His Puskás Award-winning goal was a beautifully worked team goal for Goianésia against Atletico Go, finished off by Lira with an extravagant and acrobatic overhead kick. No wonder he got injured all the time. 12th, Daniel Zary. Daniel Zary was just 19 years old when he won the 2019 FIFA Puskás Award, and just 18 when he scored the goal that won it, seeing off competition in the process from Lionel Messi, Juan Fernando Quintero, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic amongst others. Andros Townsend's stunning long-range winning goal for Crystal Palace against Manchester City that year, which many of you will recall, didn't even make the top 3. Perhaps there was some sentimentality amongst the voters, as Zary's success meant that the Puskás Award would be coming home, figuratively speaking, named after a Hungarian and won for the first time by a Hungarian. In fairness, it was also a spectacular overhead kick. And not only that, it came in the third of 4 minutes of injury time to secure Debrecen a 2-1 win against rivals and then league leaders Ferencváros. So, romantic and a special goal, but clearly there is no romance about me, as I've stuck him in 12th. Zary is still only 22, it should be said, so there's plenty of time for him to rise, and he joined MTK Budapest in 2022. 11th. Miroslav Stock. The first player in this video who I suspect over a third of you would have heard of even if he hadn't won the FIFA Puskás Award. Miroslav Stock spent 4 years contracted to Chelsea and scored his Puskás Award winning strike for Turkish giants Fenerbahce. The goal in question, a Paul Scholes-esque volley from a corner from the edge of the box against Jen Shibali, but even more spectacular than even any that Scholes scored, won the award in 2012 ahead of goals by Lionel Messi, Neymar and Radamel Falcao. Stock only ever played 5 games for Chelsea, all coming in the 2008-09 season, but he played 127 games in 7 years at Fenerbahce, in addition to winning 60 caps for Slovakia. Gifted, explosive, and capable of scoring a really special goal like that every so often, Stock is 33 years old now, and he has scored 7 goals and made 3 assists in 13 games since signing for third-tier Czech outfit FK Motolet Prague in 2022. 10th. Eric Lamela. Capped a lot fewer times than Miroslav Stock, but by a much stronger national team, Eric Lamela's FIFA Puskás Award winning strike is the first in this video that I'm able to say I watched live. Not in the stadium, of course. No one did that. It was during COVID times, but on the television. It is a weird one in a way, because Lamela's Rabona was undoubtedly sensational, and it put Tottenham 1-0 up in the biggest game of all for Spurs, the North London derby. However, he was also later sent off in that exact same game, which Tottenham went on to lose 2-1. Nonetheless, Lamela took home the prestigious award ahead of Patrick Schick's Euro 2020 strike against Scotland from just past the halfway line and Mehdi Taremi's brilliant overhead kick in the Champions League against Chelsea. Lamela flattered to the sea for 8 whole years at Tottenham, where he played just over 250 games, but often frustrated despite his enormous talent, and he joined Sevilla in the summer after he won the Puskás Award, in a deal which saw Brian Hill head in the opposite direction. 9th. Hamit Altintop. The most decorated Turkish footballer of his generation, and among the most decorated of all time, Hamit Altintop won 2 Bundesliga titles and reached a Champions League final at Bayern Munich, won a La Liga title during his brief stint with Real Madrid, and won a couple of Turkish Super League titles with Galatasaray in his later years. He also won only the 2nd FIFA Puskás Award in 2010, seeing off competition from Messi, Neymar, and his Bayern Munich teammate Arjen Robben for a ridiculous volley that he scored for Turkey against Kazakhstan in a Euro 2008 qualifier. Not dissimilar to Miroslav Stock's 2012 Puskás Award winning strike, Altintop's worldie was a volley from a corner, teed up to him on the edge of the box, but he caught it even more flush than Stock, and with far more force. The ball whistled into the back of the net at practically supersonic speed before the goalkeeper had even seen it leave his boot. A gifted midfielder, whose twin brother Halil now works for his former club Bayern Munich, despite never having played for them himself. These days, Hamit is one of the bigwigs at the dysfunctional and recklessly incompetent Turkish Football Federation. 8th. Olivier Giroud. 8th seems cruel on Olivier Giroud, who is France's all-time record goalscorer, having overtaken Thierry Henry at the 2022 World Cup, has won the World Cup, the Champions League and Serie A, and is still going strong for both club and country at the age of 36. On the basis of his career achievements, Giroud is an elite-level centre-forward. Yet there is still, I think, a justifiable sense among a lot of people that he ranks just outside of that truly elite bracket. Nonetheless, he is a sensational footballer, something of a late bloomer, and perennially underrated. And his 2017 Puskás Award-winning goal was one of the rarest and most impressive of all the awards-winning strikes. It should be said that I could have ranked the Puskás Award-winning goals themselves, but I didn't think that that would be as interesting since I can't show you the footage of them, and given the varied talents of previous winners, it was their overall ability and careers that I found more interesting to rank. I hope most of you agree. Giroud won the Puskás Award with over 36% of the vote in 2017 for the scorpion kick that he scored against Crystal Palace in what was an incisive counter-attack by Arsenal on New Year's Day 2017. It meant that the 2017 Puskás Award-winning goal was scored on the very first day of 2017. And despite the rarity of a goal of that ilk, some of you may recall that literally just a few days earlier, Henrik Mkhitaryan scored a very similar goal for Manchester United against Sunderland. What I liked about Giroud's, aside from the fact that he was onside, unlike Mkhitaryan, was the lovely flick that he made earlier on in the move to set Arsenal on their way, which is perhaps the part of his game with which he is best associated, rather than scoring spectacular goals. 7th, James Rodriguez. It might not feel like it, because James Rodriguez is widely perceived as having underachieved in his career, probably quite rightly in fact, but he is even more decorated than Olivier Giroud, on the club stage at least. Completely opposite to Giroud, Rodriguez was a superstar from a very young age, having made his first team debut for Envigado at the age of 14. But he began to tail off much earlier, in his mid to late 20s, as do so many players who played so many games at such a young age. Rodriguez still won 3 Portuguese Primeira Liga titles with Porto, a La Liga title, and 2 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid, and 2 Bundesliga titles in 2 seasons on loan at Bayern Munich. He also won the Golden Boot at the 2014 World Cup, and he was unfortunate, in many ways, not to win the Golden Ball as well. It was at the 2014 World Cup, where Rodriguez scored 6 goals in only 5 games from attacking midfield, that he scored his 2014 Puskás Award-winning strike, receiving the ball on his chest from a header by Abel Aguirre with his back to goal, before rifling a stunning volley on the half-turn, which crashed against the underside of the crossbar and dropped into the back of the net. It was the type of goal that I score at 7-a-side virtually every week, in my head. 6th, HeungMin Son. The greatest South Korean footballer, I would argue, of all time at this stage. It speaks volumes about the quality of a handful of Puskás Award winners that HeungMin Son only takes 6th. Overshadowed often at Tottenham by Harry Kane, whilst the Englishman recently became his club and country's all-time record goalscorer, Son also now ranks as Spurs' 7th highest scorer of all time and South Korea's 3rd highest, though eclipsing Chobumkan's tally of 58 might be an order too tall even for him. A superstar in South Korea, eclipsed in terms of celebrity status only by the members of BTS and Blackpink, no doubt Son's legions of followers from his homeland helped him to take the crown ahead of Uruguayan duo Georgian de Arrascaeta and Luis Suarez in 2020 Puskás Award voting. Son's award-winning goal was actually scored in December 2019 against Burnley in the Premier League, as he received the ball literally on the edge of his own box before slaloming past 6 Burnley players, arriving in the opposition box and placing the ball outside of Nick Pope's reach. It was the ultimate exhibition of all of Son's finest attributes: his speed, close control, and end product. Having won the Premier League Golden Boot last season, jointly with Mohamed Salah, Son has struggled in what has been a difficult seasonal round for Spurs this season, down from 24 to just 10 goals in all competitions, as things currently stand. 5th, Mohamed Salah. If I had ranked every Puskás Award-winning goal rather than the winning players, Mohamed Salah's strike against Everton in December 2017 undoubtedly would have finished last. Don't get me wrong, it was a very good goal, arguably even a great one, illustrating Salah's strength, quick feet, and his wonderful left foot. But it had no business being nominated for the 2018 Puskás Award as one of the 10 best goals scored in all of world football that year, let alone winning the entire thing. As with Son though, Salah is practically a deity in his homeland, a country of over 100 million football lovers, not to mention Liverpool's massive global fan base that most likely pushed him over the line. Salah scored 44 goals in 52 games that season, which was his first at Anfield, and it was almost as though the Puskás Award was used as a way of sort of recognising the enormity of that feat, though, of course, that's not what the award is, and the fact that he beat Cristiano Ronaldo's overhead kick against Juventus, and especially Gareth Bale's stunning bicycle kick against Liverpool in the Champions League final, does somewhat undervalue the award as a whole. It should be said, all football awards, from the Ballon d'Or to the utterly ludicrous Globe Soccer Awards, are either totally pointless, laughably corrupt, or both of the above. And I have made a whole video about why that is the case, should any of you be interested. Back on topic, Salah's goal might not have been that impressive, but he certainly is. And it was a tough call between him and the player up next for a spot in 4th. The score of 179 goals in 294 games for Liverpool, I think that Salah is arguably the best right winger of the Premier League era, and even in a rubbish season for him, i.e. this season, could still result in him scoring 30 goals in all competitions. 4th, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I don't think it's a straightforward choice between Mohamed Salah and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and given that Salah is 11 years younger than Ibrahimovic, there's every chance that he could still overtake him at some stage in this list. There is absolutely no comparison between their Puskás Award-winning goals though, given that Abramović's 2013 award-winning strike is possibly the best Puskás Award winner of them all. In November 2012, England travelled to Sweden for a friendly match to commemorate the opening of the Friends Arena. Ibrahimovic marked the occasion in quite some style, scoring all 4 goals in a 4-2 win for the home side, including a stupendous volleyed bicycle kick from all of 35 yards out, which looped over the heads of Joe Hart and 2 England defenders and bounced into the back of the net. It was one of those goals that just leaves you speechless, and a thoroughly deserved winner ahead of goals by Nemanja Matic and Neymar. At the time of the goal, Ibrahimovic had only recently signed for PSG, where it took him just 4 seasons to become the club's all-time record goal scorer, though his record has since been beaten. Following stints at Manchester United and LA Galaxy, Ibrahimovic has been back at AC Milan since December 2019, where he has still managed to score 37 goals in 78 games, in between chronic injury problems, now into his 40s. 3rd, Neymar. Neymar is not just a prolific scorer and creator of goals, but also a prolific scorer of fantastic goals. Only Lionel Messi has received more than Neymar's 5 Puskás Award nominations, and unlike Messi, Neymar has actually won it. Neymar won the Puskás Award in 2011 when he was only 18 years old, seeing off competition from Messi and Wayne Rooney, who finished 2nd and 3rd in that year's voting. The hype surrounding Neymar at that time was just off the charts, and largely justified, as he tore state and national level championship defences to shreds at Santos. Having been nominated for the Puskás Award at 17, Neymar won it at 18 with a superb solo goal against Flamengo, which was so emblematic of his O Yoga Bonito approach and technical prowess. Neymar is often described as having underachieved in his career, and he certainly has missed an awful lot of football, though I suspect that is partly because he played so much football at such a high level at such a young age, and has always been subjected to fairly aggressive play and routine fouls. I think Neymar is second only to Lionel Messi in terms of the most gifted players of the last 20 years, but it's also worth noting that most players who have the weight of a footballing nation like Brazil on their shoulders from the age of about 14 would crumble. Neymar, whatever you might think of him, hasn't done that, becoming, consistently, one of the best players on the planet for more than a decade, the most expensive footballer that has ever lived, a Champions League winner, and Brazil's joint highest scorer of all time, tied with the great Pelé on 77 goals as things stand, and inevitably bound to overtake him at some stage. Second, Cristiano Ronaldo. Surprisingly, given his profile and the sheer number of goals that he scored, Cristiano Ronaldo has only twice been nominated for the FIFA Puskás Award, compared to Zlatan Ibrahimovic's 4 nominations, Neymar's 5, and Lionel Messi's 7. Once again though, Ronaldo did at least win one of his 2 nominations, namely the inaugural 2009 FIFA Puskás Award, in which he saw off competition from Andres Iniesta and Grafic, who finished second and third. I must admit, whilst Ronaldo's goal was truly out of this world, I imagine that anyone who has seen Grafic's solo run and finish against Bayern Munich in the 2008-09 Bundesliga season would find it hard to believe that there was a better goal scored that year. Ronaldo's winning streak came back in his native Portugal against Porto in the Champions League, as he thundered about a 0.005 XG effort from miles outside the box past Brazilian goalkeeper Helton in the Porto goal. It was the only goal of that game as Manchester United won 3-2 on aggregate, going on to lose that season's Champions League final against Barca. By the time that Ronaldo received the award, he had already left Manchester United, joining Real Madrid for a world record-breaking fee, where he would score 450 goals in only 438 games. Age 38 now, a lot of people think that Ronaldo has retired, but he is actually still playing football in Saudi Arabia for a club called Al Nassr, where he has scored 9 goals in 10 games since leaving Manchester United for the second time. First, Marcin Alexei. Who? I won't hear a word of it. The recipient of the most recent FIFA Puskás Award, Marcin Alexei saw off competition from Dimitri Payet and Richarlison, in addition to Kylian Mbappe's equaliser for France in the World Cup final, to take the crown for 2022. Alexei scored a magnificent overhead kick for Warta Poznan against Stal Rzeszów in the 2022 PZU AMP Football Ekstraklasa to put his team 1-0 up, and ultimately to become the first amputee footballer to win the Puskás Award, and also the award's oldest recipient at the age of 35. I know what some of you will be thinking. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored over 800 goals, won 5 Champions Leagues, and 5 Ballon d'Ors, so surely he should be top. And all of that is true, except for the obvious fact that Ronaldo has 2 legs, and it is famously much easier to play football when you have 2 legs. Some would say that it is even the optimal number. Certainly, 1 is less than optimal, and that is exactly how many Alexei has got. The acrobatic Pole actually began his career as a goalkeeper, but whilst working in construction he suffered a serious workplace accident and lost his leg. Undeterred, he returned to football as a centre-forward, starring for Warta Poznan in the recently established Polish Amputee Football League. Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Marcin Alexei have all proven that they're capable of scoring brilliant overhead kicks. But only Alexei has proven that he can score them with 1 leg, and until that changes, I think that he's worthy of top spot. Not only that, he did score it to the goalkeeper's left side rather than his right. I only point that out because the goalkeeper in question's right arm has been amputated, whilst his left is fully intact, thus making the goal even more impressive as far as I'm concerned. Right, that is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case, it is greatly appreciated. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for both this channel, HITC Sevens, and indeed my backup or second channel, both of which should be on your screens now. You can also find me on Twitter or on Instagram via the username at HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so. Cheers. Have a fantastic day.